Welcome back to your live continuing coverage on BeTerrific of InfoComm's 2015 Digital Signage Pavilion at InfoComm 2015. I'm on the InfoComm digital signage stage here, and we're in Orlando, Florida at the Orange County Convention Center. This is the real theme park. Disney, Universal, they're here, footsteps away, but this is where the magic is really happening. It is unbelievable. You're the Terrifics. Thank you so much for watching this and for enjoying. We're bringing you some really fun stuff today. I've got Av from Baanto on. Baanto is an amazing company. You guys make great devices, great displays, very interactive. You've got touch, and you make touch simple now. I'm blown away by your stuff. Tell me what's new at Baanto.
Oh, we've been growing tremendously over the last year. We have quite a few partners that are launching products this year, from Toshiba through to NEC, Avnet. We've got a wide distribution network now. But from a technology point of view, we're really focused on creating that touch experience that is above every other experience that you have. So when you pick up a pen, when you pick up an eraser, when you write on a chalkboard, how interactive and how intuitive that experience is, we want to mimic that in the digital environment. And way too often, you see companies that actually have touch and collaboration systems, and they go, we don't want to use it, it's too complicated. It's not intuitive, it doesn't feel right. So we've done a lot of work towards making pen computing on large format surfaces. So you'll actually, if you come by the Baanto booth, you'll actually check out how fast and responsive our ink is. So you can actually pick up an eraser and start erasing. You can pick up a pen and just start writing. There's no menus, there's no buttons, nothing that you have to go ahead and click or configure. Completely intuitive.
That's what I was going to say. I walked by and I thought, wow, this is easy. There's nothing to interface with. It's just literally pick it up and do what I want to do with it, and it just happens.
Yeah, and a lot of times people create technology that makes something that was easy more complicated. I've been to so many boardrooms, doesn't matter, Fortune 500 companies, you have all of these complex systems, and there's still a flip chart with a piece of paper, and the CEO walks up and picks up a marker and writes on the flip chart. And you ask, like, why is it that you're using all this technology? It's too complicated, it's too cumbersome. You have to do this, you have to do that, you accidentally do this, and it interrupts my flow of thinking. So we really want to make that be simpler. And when you look at things like the iPad or the iPhone, why are they so brilliantly successful? Because they made it damn simple. And that's exactly the concept behind what Baanto is doing.
It's funny, I talk about this all the time when I talk to people in the tech world and we talk about products. I get to see a lot of prototypes and people ask me what I think of their products, and I always say, I can walk through a lot of stuff, and there's a limit to what I can do. But I always say, you've got to separate yourself from what you know and make yourself a consumer.
Right.
And so, when you do that, and I have this ability to pretend that I don't know and become a consumer, and I can do that with video, right? Where I can become a viewer and forget that I know, so I can watch our stuff back and analyze it. And that's really cool. But what I tell people the most is keep it simple, and I remind them, and you said Apple, I remind them that the iPhone has one button on it called the home button and a volume control.
Yeah.
And the iPod, which was one of the most popular devices ever and kind of sparked this whole mobile movement, had one button as well, that click wheel.
Yeah.
And so you've got to keep it simple and easy to use and not make too many roadblocks between getting into the thing and seeing it. You got to make it so that, that's what you're saying. You walk up, you know what to do. You don't have to do anything.
Exactly. And 10 years ago I bought a Pana board.
Yeah.
One of those old Pana boards where you write on a marker, you click one button, which is a print, and it gives you a sheet of paper.
Yes, I had one of those.
Yeah, and we used it non-stop, because at the end of the day, you just come up, you use it, you click print, you take a photograph, and you're done. And I looked at it, and every time we tried to bring digital technology into, and we're a company full of engineers. We use every complex product known to the industry out there. And I looked at it going, if these guys are not adopting this technology, then how can you expect the general consumer to go adopt it? And what happens a lot of times is this technology gets pushed out into the market, people don't use it, and it's a one-off, and it collects dust, and you wonder, where's the market? Oh, I have to reduce the price. I have to reduce the value. I have to now compete with the lower cost Asian manufacturers. And that's not really the situation. You make a product that's better, that actually simplifies your life, and adds features on top of what you're already used to, suddenly that's what makes it work. And that's what we're finding. And when you look around the show, and you see ShadowSense technology being adopted, why is it? Because we're not a touch company, we're providing a touch solution. We're solving a problem.
Right. How did Baanto get started? I think you said it, by the way, I think you said it very eloquently, and you said it right. I mean, I think what you're saying is the truth, and it makes a lot of sense. I think it's good advice for people who aren't doing that, but I think it talks to why you guys are so successful.
No, appreciate that. Yeah, it's always about don't create a technology, create a solution, solve a problem. And if you can convince someone, I solved that problem, suddenly there's value to that.
How did Baanto get started?
Oh, it's a long story. Just like all startups, what actually happened was I was involved in a technology consulting company where companies like Panasonic were our customers, where we were looking to, how do I make that Panaboard better? How do I make some of these interactive systems better? And we had a few customers that we were involved with in the technology company that came up and said, we're using cameras, we're using beam break, we're using some of these technologies that are out there, trying to do the next generation, but these are some of the basic problems we have with sunlight immunity and calibration and complexity and drivers, and do you have an idea how to make it better? And we looked at the physics behind the cameras, we looked at all of the electronics behind everything, and we realized that there was a fundamental limitation. It wasn't because of lack of trying. That's just how good those systems were. And me and John, one of my lead engineers, we were on a whiteboard one of the days, and we were thinking about shadows and how sundials could actually be used to collect information about how an object is moving. And we drew up this little sketch and said, if we invented this type of sensor, how cool would that be? I think we can solve a lot of these problems. And we showed it to our strategic customers, and they said, this sounds like a lot of heavy lifting. You know what, if you invented it, we would be your customer, but I don't think we could fund the development of it because that's really Japan and Korea. And,
sure.
So that's what happened. We put some money together, we went to some angel investors, created Baanto, and... What
made you think you could do it though? Because it's not easy, especially when you got these big manufacturers in Japan that aren't even doing it.
Stupidity, which every entrepreneur needs to have a little mix of, which is the belief that, you know what, you only see that one step ahead of you, and that was a question that constantly came up.
Yeah.
We would go into meetings with Samsung and LG and all of the big guys, and if we didn't invent it, how is it possible that you could? And that's where innovation comes in.
Well, I think you're right. You got to think different, right? They're stuck in their way, and they can't necessarily think the way you're thinking.
And you hit the nail on the head. We weren't a touch company. We weren't a digital signage company. We weren't a display company. We were just a bunch of engineers going, hey, why can't you solve that? And when you asked the question, everybody said, I don't think you can. You just can't. You just can't. And it's like, well, why can't you?
But why not? I like that. That's what I asked. So yeah, I think that's good.
Why not?
Yeah.
And before you know it, it's like, and every step of the way, it's people telling you, it can't work. No way. It can't be that simple. And if you come by our booth and I'll show you the heart of the system, which is the patent, it's an electronic sundial, and everyone said, that has to be patented. How is it that's not patented? Don't know.
Well, I love it. I got to come by. I want the tour from you.
Absolutely.
Talk about some of the other products you have.
So Baanto is one of the few companies in the world that scales from 5 inches to literally 260 inches.
260?
So, yeah, the largest touchscreens we've deployed are 24 feet by 7 feet high, I'd like to say. The Cleveland Museum of Art, the Christie Interactivity Kit is Baanto ShadowSense. So we've done just numerous installations, but at the same time, we have product all the way down to 5 inches, which are really ProCap killers. We have better performance, better ergonomics, better EMI, just better everything than ProCap, without all of the cost issues. So one of the latest things we're going to announce in the next month is a major avionics and defense contractor is now pushing ShadowSense into all of the Boeing and Airbus aircraft, but cockpit. So pilot and co-pilot, 777, A380, defense aircraft. So it is really defense and military grade, all the way down through to automotive and medical to digital signage.
That's really awesome. And that's hard too though, because when you get on a 777 or an A380, you have to worry about if the plane loses pressure and depressurizes, what happens to that display? That's a big concern.
Well, and there's problems like, what happens when the pilot is trying to touch a touchscreen with turbulence? Yeah. So how do I actually eliminate the accidental touches versus the intentional touches? How do I actually look at, there's a drop of water that fell on the screen and we don't want to detect that touch. So here's a problem that one of our medical customers came to us. We're involved in a medical ultrasound machine that's used in surgery. Well, the surgeon is actually using it with gloves, but the gloves could have blood on it. He touches the screen, the blood is dripping. You cannot detect the touch for the blood, but it has to be because the finger touched it. And at the same time, they undetach the touchscreen, throw it into boiling water to go ahead and sanitize it, put it back, and it continues to has to work.
They throw it into boiling water.
Yes.
So it's waterproof.
It's IP67 waterproof. So those are the type of problems we're really good at solving.
You are a very, very innovative company. I like it. I really like it. Baanto.com.
Yes, it is.
Baanto.com. Baanto.com. Ev, thank you so much for coming on. You are such an innovative company. I
Please
love
come
what
by
you're
the
doing.
booth.
I'm going to come by the booth, and we got to keep up with you on BeTerrific. I would like that very much, and we got to keep up with you on BeTerrific. You got to come on more often. Maybe we'll Skype you in at some point.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That's Av from Baanto. You got to check them out. Wow, are they innovative? Waterproof. They're getting in planes. They're talking about being able to push through finger touching through blood and liquids and gloves and all sorts of other stuff. Apparently, the glove isn't the problem. The blood is. That's unbelievable. I wear gloves on my phone. I can't even touch it. And I don't like those metal ones that scratch those little metal fibers that they have. They scratch the screen. So this is amazing. Baanto, you got to check it out. And you got to check out the rest of the stuff we've done here. You'll see the archives. They'll go up next week, youtube.com/BeTerrificTV. And it'll, of course, all be on BeTerrific.com. We'll be back with a whole lot more of your live continuing coverage of InfoComm 2015, the Digital Signage Pavilion here on the Digital Signage stage. We are the official live coverage. I'm Michael Artsis. Thanks so much for watching BeTerrific. We'll be back with a whole lot more right after this. Don't go anywhere.